Good afternoon. Usually you see me talking about war games, history, political science, maybe being a professor. Today I'm going to deal with something that in southwestern Pennsylvania is a religion. To the rest of the world, they call it professional football. But here, people tend to bleed black and gold. And it's been central to my Sunday entertainment for a very long time. I grew up on the Steel Curtain and Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw and the four Super Bowls under their leadership. So, yeah, this is important. It's not bread and circuses, in my view. It's a source of escape, it's a source of entertainment, and it's a source of local unity, if you will. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be all pretentious and say, "Oh, I don't watch TV. I don't like sports." No, no, no. I love sports. I can't play them, but that just makes me appreciate them all the more, if anything. So, the recent event I'd like to talk about today is the resignation of Mike Tomlin. Tomlin came in as the Steeler coach, a fresh face, an up and coming assistant, a defensive mind, the youngest coach in the league, and he stayed for 19 years. In the beginning, there was a lot of promise. He delivered, going 1 for 2 in Super Bowls. And he went 19 seasons without a losing season. And so many times he would finish barely over in the winning column. And pundits and admirers would say that, oh, this is the greatest job that Coach Tomlin ever did. Even though they may not have made the playoffs, he was able to pull them out of losing. And sometimes under some very, very trying circumstances. Antonio Brown, anyone? So there was a standard there. But over time, I became more critical as the standard became lower. It was not a matter of making the playoffs anymore. It was a matter. It was not a matter of winning Super Bowls. It became a matter of just finishing over 500 many times. And yes, he did have some very, very good coaching jobs trying to rescue that. But I noticed the standard lowered, and I wasn't happy about it. Neither were a lot of other people. But what has really renewed my respect for Coach Tomlin is the way he walked away. He didn't wait to get fired. The Rooneys weren't going to fire him. I mean, the Rooney family has an outstanding reputation for loyalty to the people who are part of the team. Um, and this goes back 3 generations. They weren't going to fire him. If anything, they were going to keep on giving him contract extensions no matter what the fans thought. And this year, though, it was a turning point when they may have won in Dublin, which was a major coup for a team with connections to Ireland. After all, the late Dan Rooney had been the United States ambassador there. Um, they also had some cases in which home field team fans booed the offense. They also booed playing Sticks Renegade, which is usually a way to rally the fans, but at times it became a little trying. Excuse me. But Coach Tomlin left, I think, in absolutely the best, classiest, most considerate for manner I could imagine. He walked away. It reminds me a lot of Tony Romo's retirement with the Dallas Cowboys when he wasn't delivering. I think he had been injured an awful lot, and he retired and or sat down as starting quarterback and then retired, and in a very, very classy manner handed the quarterback position over to Dak Prescott. Um, Coach Tomlin did the same thing, but even more so. Now, I don't think that the fact that he wasn't doing that great at the end, again, another early exit from the playoffs. I'm not going to make excuses for that. But I think that every great coach, every leader, and this is where the history stuff comes in, anyone who leads reaches a point at which it's time to go. They may have lost touch with the team. They may have ceased to be effective as leaders. The game or the war or the business may have passed them by. Or, in the case of someone much older than Coach Tomlin, I'm thinking of Connie Mack when he managed the Philadelphia A's, may have just lost it mentally, where he would sit impassive in the dugout, the last manager to wear a three-piece suit and a tight collar and a bowler hat, and try to put guys into the field that had retired or even died decades earlier. That his assistants showed their loyalty by covering this up, that they were managing the team, and he was the figurehead. He should have retired years and years before he eventually left the dugout. Coach Tomlin is definitely not mentally incapacitated. I think he still has some good years left him as a coach, but not in Pittsburgh. And he could see that it wasn't going to work anymore. And it was time to go. And instead of digging himself into the Fuhrer bunker, he left on a very classy note. And we see this even with the very, very best coaches. I'm thinking of Paul Brown staying with the Cleveland Browns until Art Modell fired him, when he was no longer the genius that he had been. And the Browns were no longer a dynasty, and it was time to go. Art Modell saw it, and I hate to say anything good about Art Modell, but yeah, he saw it, and Paul Brown didn't. And Paul Brown was shown the door, and he went on to found the Cincinnati Bengals and had success at every level, except he never won a Super Bowl. Chuck Noll, I think that the game had passed him by towards the end. He had a very distinct reluctance to use the shotgun, and he was wedded to an offensive scheme that was past its expiration date. It was time to go. And he did. And he retired and the reins went to Bill Cowher, who stayed, who won a Super Bowl, lost another, unfortunately, to the Cowboys. And at the end, it seemed like he got burned out from coaching. He didn't have the energy that he did, and he walked away. And he never took another coaching job again. He went into the broadcast booth and resisted all calls to come back to the NFL. I think all these moves were very, well, Paul Brown didn't have a choice, but I think with Noll and Cowher, it was very classy. It was time. They recognized it. And now Coach Tomlin has followed in their footsteps. Both success and in terms of exiting the stage when he was not as successful as he had been, and I think that things had gotten stale, and it was just time to go. And maybe the fans recognized it when they were chanting "Fire Tomlin." I'm not sure that the Rooneys or Omar Khan, the general manager, had recognized it, but the coach did, and that is really in his favor. So, as Coach Tomlin goes off to the next stage of his career, or as Chuck Noll used to call it, his life's work, which was everything outside of football, I have to give him a real shout out for what he did. And he earns my respect for calling it quits. It wasn't going to get any better. Not with him at the helm. And it's time to walk away. It's time to get on with the next stage of career in life. And it's something that I wish that politicians, generals, others, anyone in a leadership position has the wisdom to do. As I talked about in an earlier video regarding Jake Tapper's book, Original Sin, I think that Joe Biden should have walked away a lot sooner. I think most of the elderly members of the Senate and the House who are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, or pushing 90, should retire. They don't have the wisdom that Coach Tomlin did when he made his decision at a much younger age too. I might point out, and in some ways with a much better record. That we see it with politicians of both major parties, by the way, who hang around far too long. And they clog up the line of succession. That younger, up and coming talent gets choked out because they can't be promoted into positions that are occupied by a bunch of aldercockers that don't know when to quit. They don't know when to get on with their life's work. So, yeah, this is a lesson I think we can take into politics and business and anything else, that you have to know when to quit, when the game is passing you by, when the enterprise is passing you by, when life is passing you by, and maybe you're not physically up to it. Not the case with Coach Tomlin. He didn't wait that long. But there's a point at which you got to go. Now, if you're thinking about this is about me, it's not. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to keep on working, hopefully until I'm at least 70, because I can't afford anything else. But yeah, that being broke is a great motivator. But I just want to take this opportunity and use my forum to talk about Coach Tomlin and how much I respect and how much regard I have for his decision to leave when he did. I think this is so incredibly important, and I wish that more people would heed his example and do what he did, and not just in football. So, I appreciate your time, and please like, subscribe, share with your friends, even if they're not history people. Everybody's a football person, not just in Pittsburgh, but they're NFL fans are everywhere, Mike Tomlin fans are everywhere, and Steeler fans, we've infiltrated wherever you're at. So, thoughts, please, likes, please, comment, and feel free to share. And so I bid you adieu for the day, and I thank you for your time, and next time we'll be back to the more customary topics of gaming, history, political science, not so much politics, but political science, and all the other usual fun stuff that I usually introduce. So, thanks again, and I will see you later.